Do you think that the Cybertruck will come out in Europe? And please don't disappoint me now, because I have a
Well,
reservation. You know that already.
yeah.
Has something changed? The audience
Well,
already
yeah.
typed it
So
down
this
below,
this will
but
probably this will probably disappoint your audience, but as of
oh,
now, I do not believe there's any plans to sell the Cybertruck in Europe. So what I was told is the Cybertruck is initially going to be released in North America, so it'll be sold in U.S., Canada, and Mexico. After that, they're looking at China, and that's all. That's all that's in the current plans. So I'm sure 5 years down the road, sure
oh
we'll probably see the
God.
Cybertruck for sale in Australia, New Zealand, and Europe, but I doubt you will see it for sale, say definitely not in 24, probably not in 25 or 26. Maybe after that, maybe there's a smaller version of the Cybertruck that might be sold. But if you think you're getting a Cybertruck in Europe in the next 2 to 3 years, you are going to be you're going to be upset.
Don't do this, Matthew.
Yeah. You have to remember, like, the US market for full size trucks is huge. Ford
Yeah,
sells 750,000 trucks a year. GM and Ram, I think, combined probably sell, I don't know, maybe 500,000-600,000 combined. You also have Nissan and Toyota making full size trucks. So there's,
true.
you know, I don't know the total amount, but well over 1 million trucks, full size trucks a year sold in the US. So it's going to take Tesla a few years to get up to production,
Hmm.
scaled production, to kind of meet
Yeah.
a lot of that demand. And so Europe is just, it's not it's not needed in order to sell as many trucks as possible. Obviously, it's good from a branding standpoint. It's good for PR. I would imagine you'll see rich people buy these vehicles in the US and import them, and try and register them if they're allowed, or maybe have some type of show and display license for them. But yeah, Tesla is not going to be selling these in their service centers in Europe for the next several years.
Okay, this hurts my audience and me as well, but of course, I mean, it makes sense. It totally makes sense. I think that if I have the opportunity, I am half American, so maybe I can pull some strings or something to, I don't know, get my delivery in California or something, and then. Because maybe I have to sell all my Tesla shares to get this thing here, but this won't make sense, so I won't do it maybe. But I think for me, my plan was to rent out this thing here in Europe, of course, for 1K a day, and for all, because I'm from video production. That's why I've also
Yeah.
made a lot of rap videos, of course, in Germany, and that's why, yeah, rappers will most certainly rent this thing for their
Sure.
videos for 1 or 2 days, and
Well,
then
if
it's
you
got.
imported it, even if you weren't allowed to drive it, you could
Yeah, yeah, that would be an
have it on a
expensive
trailer and bring
shoot.
it to different shoots. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The most important thing is it going to be street legal here, and there could be some rain or there are some exceptions. I mean, we also have the Ford F-150 Raptors, maybe not the full stacked versions with the super broad wheelbase or something, but we can get I've already seen Ford F-150s, for at least not the Raptor maybe,
Yeah.
but because it's so few are in Europe. So, but maybe somehow you can import it, or maybe through Switzerland. I don't know. I'm not sure, because the Swiss also are very
Someone will
much.
find a way.
Yeah, somebody, and I'm gonna look for it. And there were also very interesting. I've dived so deep into this topic that people said, yeah, you could register it through Morocco and then back to Europe and stuff like this. Totally crazy rich people stuff that I don't understand. So so it's such a rabbit hole, way too expensive, way too complicated. So not a
Yeah.
feasible option for people. So maybe, yeah. How about the production numbers over the first years? How do you think this will play out in the future? Because now we focus on the US market again. I think
Yeah.
it makes the most sense, of course, because that's the market for trucks. So yeah.
Yeah. So I imagine, this year, 2023, there'll be single digit thousands of them built. I imagine in 2024, we'll see big ramp up. I would expect at least 100,000 units. Maybe there's some snags along the way, and it's only 50 to 70,000 units, but we could see 100 to 200,000 units.
Mhm.
I imagine in 2025, we will see somewhere in the 250 to 400, maybe even 500,000 units, and then 2026, I am projecting will be the year that the Cybertruck outsells the F-150. So if the F-150 is selling, say, 700,000 units a year, in in a typical decent year for Ford, the Cybertruck should exceed that. It will be in the 700, maybe 750,000 units in 2026. I imagine the F-150 will also take a bit of a hit. A lot of truck buyers
Yeah.
will move from the F-150 to the Cybertruck, as well as from the other full-size trucks. I've made this prediction a couple times on Twitter, and I got a ton of pushback. People telling me, "Hey, the F-150 has been the best-selling truck in the U.S. for the past 43 years. How is it gonna, lose its mark so quickly?" And I would tell people, look at Tesla's other vehicles. The Model Y, and it's been out for 3 years and is now outselling the Toyota Corolla globally, which was the best-selling vehicle of all types, I think, for the last like 40 years or so. So it only took the Model Y about three and a half years or so to pass the Corolla. I think that we'll see something similar where the Cybertruck will pass the F-150 in about three and a half years as well.
Yeah, so don't look only at the past to predict the future. You have to really see what's happening and predict right now the contemporary numbers, everything we have right on the table. And just because something sold in the past doesn't mean it will sell in the future. But there are some indications. Of course, truck buyers are very stubborn. Also, I mean, they love their trucks. That's why, I mean, I get it. They're in a total different park. It's all about towing and everything else. So, yeah, so that's very important for them. But for the end, I think what I would love to hear, because you've had some contact with a dealer of the Ford F-150. You can maybe you can talk about this, because Tesla, of course, has you go on their website, you order a truck or everything else you want, and then they're gonna deliver it to you. And this is just a use case on or usability. How does it feel to engage with dealers? I mean, it's a bad example, of course. There might be better examples, but let's just talk about this for the end. I think that's a very funny thing to end the episode here.
Yeah, so this happened over the weekend. I saw an ad for a Cybertruck, so I decided to click on it. And you can click on the thread, but essentially the salesperson would not even tell me the price of the vehicle. So here in the US, new vehicles have an MSRP. During the pandemic, we've seen a lot of companies, a lot of dealerships mark up their vehicles above MSRP, and sometimes to ridiculous heights where a car might be 30 to 50% more, some of them even 100% more than MSRP. And in this case, they wouldn't even tell me the price until I went in the dealership. So we went back and forth a few times, and he kept trying to get me to go in and say like, once I'm there, they'll figure out the price, like as if I'm going to drive all the way to the dealership just for them to tell me how much it costs. And it really makes it hit home of how difficult it is for legacy automakers to compete with Tesla. Tesla are building the best EVs, but even if Tesla was building an average EV, so even if Ford or GM or Volkswagen or Mercedes, whoever, could build an EV with as good of a range and as good efficiency and as good of a battery and as good of a motor and as good autonomy, as good of an operating system, even if they were able to do all of that, which of course they're years behind, but even if they could, they're still not going to be able to compete with Tesla from a distribution standpoint. The dealerships make half the profit on every vehicle that's sold. So, if Tesla makes a Model Y for say, $37,000 and sells that vehicle for say $47,000, they might make a $10,000 profit. For Ford, if Ford could match that, which of course they can't, there's cost them double to build that type of vehicle. But even if they could, instead of making a $10,000 profit on a Model Y, they'd be making a $5,000 profit, or they'd have to sell the vehicle for $5,000 more than Tesla to make the same amount of profit. So even if everything else was equal, legacy auto just mathematically cannot compete with Tesla long term, because their business model is being disrupted by the direct to consumer model that we see with Tesla.
That's absolutely crazy. I mean, you're hearing I think my kid is screaming in the back. It's a little bit confusing now, so sorry
I
for
know
that.
that's like
I mean, I can't do anything about it this way, but that's good that this happened just at the end of the episode because I have to leave now, sadly. But thanks again for sharing the story. I think the most funny bit was that he even stalked you on Facebook, which is pretty interesting here on the right. So yeah, I also think that it's pretty difficult. The truck market's gonna be really turned over by Tesla here. Every stone will be turned, and no stone will be left untouched. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a success.